state's most watched news starts now.
Good morning and welcome to the KOAM Morning News. It's 5 a.m. I'm Tanya Bach. Coming up this half hour, the Uniontown girls basketball team is on a hot streak right now. We'll have the story behind their winning streak. And for our morning talker, we're asking, should trading app Robinhood be able to restrict individual investments? You can participate in our Insta poll at KOAMnewsnow.com/vote. But first, a check on your forecast.
Not to be confused, you did not say they're going streaking.
No. On a streak.
No, I misheard.
Winning streak.
It's my bad. Well, it's Friday.
Oh, well, yes.
You and I have worked together for how many years?
We're talking about high school basketball here, so.
I wasn't. I'm sorry.
That.
I was actually looking at flood advisories. That's all I. Yeah. Thank you for putting that. I've never seen you blush. How many years have we worked together?
15 now.
I've never seen you blush before.
Well, there's a first for everything.
I'm looking over here at flood advisories, and I heard you say streak, and I was like, well, I mean,
oh man,
it's Friday. It's kind of a weird one, but okay.
We've had weirder.
You're just going to push me off of this one, aren't you?
You said we have some flooding
No, I'm
issues?
going for broke. It's fine.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm just going for broke at this point in my life.
Okay.
Freeman Health System Sky Camera in Joplin, where we sit at 33 degrees. Partly cloudy skies this morning. It is going to be a little bit of a windy one. And so as you see that work in from the south, number one, it's going to feed us some warmer temperatures, but also two, it's going to also feed us very, very dry weather. And so not going to be surprised if we don't have an elevated fire threat throughout the course of the afternoon hours. Still able to make it up around 50 degrees. It's going to be absolutely delightful. Enjoy this Friday. Get done what you need to get done outside, because by the time we get to Saturday, the rain is going to be here, is going to formulate from the southwest, work its way from Texas up through Oklahoma. And it's going to be not only a wet Saturday, but I tell you what, when we look at that pattern right there, that's some heavy rain too. I wouldn't be surprised if we don't have some flood advisories by the time Saturday's over. Not looking at anything severe as far as, it's no lightning, thunder, or anything like that. But if you have to be out and about on Saturday, our low-level areas, they are going to flood.
Just be safe out there, that's for sure.
Yeah, no, I'm already on the gauge for the Neosho and the Spring River. I'm going to keep those updated throughout the course of today, because you have to take into account what we had earlier this week. Not only the rain, remember, we picked up about 1.25 inches. Then we had the snow on top of it. Now, while it's all melted off, that Neosho and Spring River gauges,
right?
Yeah, they're already increasing.
Well, I think one of the most important things is to know your route and to have a plan.
We do kind of look at it, I think, because it's going to be on a weekend.
Yeah.
So sure. It's like if you have plans and they're just kind of ancillary, if you want to delay them to Sunday, may be the best idea.
Are we still looking at that rain ending in the afternoon or evening?
Probably late afternoon. And it's going to be a nice warm day. It's not going to be too bad. Nothing's going to flip over, no wintry precipitation. But Sunday, we'll go partly sunny and highs in the 40s. So very seasonable on Sunday. Just going to be a muddy mess.
Yeah. Yeah. We all like mud. All right, thanks, Michael. Well, new this morning, Miami, Oklahoma police take a man into custody following a standoff. Just before 9 last night, Miami police responded to a report of shots fired in the 1100 block of I-Northwest. Police say a male suspect fired at another person following a physical altercation. The victim did not suffer a gunshot wound, however, had several wounds consistent with a fist fight. When Miami police arrived, the suspect barricaded himself inside with a family member. Officers at the house made numerous attempts to talk him out, but he refused to surrender. We were able to get the family they were able to get the family member out of the house. Officers then breached the home and took Green into custody without incident. Missouri Senators Roy Blunt and Josh Hawley say they've reintroduced legislation aimed at improving the safety of duck boats. They originally filed the legislation in response to the sinking of a Branson duck boat in 2018. The legislation would authorize previously outlined National Transportation Safety Board recommendations, including provisions to require the use of life jackets and equipping all operating duck boats to be more buoyant in the case of emergency flooding. A new company plans to bring duck boats back to Branson. The company, Branson Duck Boats LLC, says it'll use boats proven to be unsinkable by the U.S. Coast Guard. As we continue to learn more about the coronavirus, we're also learning more about the long-term impacts it can have on those who contract it. KOAM's Chris Warner has more.
Oswego resident Anil Garmacher is a truck driver who owns his own trucking business. He says he was on a delivery in late April of last year when he began to notice symptoms of COVID. So he went to the hospital to get checked out.
When I first got released from the hospital, we had trouble breathing for the first 3 months. They couldn't really figure out why. And we were in and out of the hospital and taking high doses of steroids. And stopped breathing, and my airway closed a few times.
Things seemed to go from bad to worse.
Before they put me on the ventilator, I thought I was going to die. They gave me an hour to say goodbye to my family before they put me on the ventilator and sent me up to Kansas City. But when I woke up and when I remembered who I was, because it took about a week, I thought that this was going to be over. We were going to get out. I'd beat the hardest part of it.
Freeman physician Dr. Rob McNabb says what Anil has been experiencing is known by a number of names, such as long COVID and long haulers.
And basically all those things describe one thing, which is symptoms that last longer than 12 weeks after the initial infection. And so as we've gone through this year, we've collected a lot of information along the way about these people that have these symptoms.
Dr. McNabb says extended symptoms and issues related to having COVID are becoming quite common and vary in severity. However, he says the severity of your COVID symptoms doesn't have an impact on any long-lasting conditions.
It would be pretty common to think that if you had a really bad infection and you were in the ICU, that you would be more likely to have these symptoms. But the truth is that even the patients who had very mild cases are still just as likely to have symptoms.
Anil says he's had several surgeries to stabilize his condition and still has more on the way. In the meantime, it's taking a toll on him and his family.
We've been kind of a family in a bubble. My girls that live with us, they're on virtual school, and we don't do very much social interaction, if any at all. We're very, very careful nowadays.
I'm Chris Warner for KOAM News.
Anil says some of his issues came as a result of being on the ventilator. He says COVID weakened his throat and the ventilator caused damage, which his doctors are working to repair. Some Southeast Kansas residents face problems with unemployment insurance. Vicki Geisler from Iola says she and her husband have been unemployed since March. But over the last 6 weeks, she hasn't been able to get any benefits from the Pandemic Unemployment Assistance Program. And her husband's last check from unemployment is held up because of a security update at the Department of Labor.
Pay the people what you owe them, just pay out. Get things rolling so people can get their money, because there's so many people that need it right now.
Kansas Department of Labor tells us they are not sure when unemployment insurance checks will start going through again after the security update, just that they will. And the Pandemic Unemployment Assistance Program will not launch until they do another system update. It's 5:07.
We got temperatures with partly sunny skies up into the mid-50s today. Remember, tomorrow, that's when the rain kicks in. Not looking at anything severe. But if you have weekend plans, be apprised it's going to be a wet and muddy weekend. Tanya?
That's a look at this morning's top stories and weather in our first 7 minutes. Coming up on the KOAM Morning News. Last night, East Newton hosted the Joplin Eagles. We'll have highlights, plus how to know if getting the COVID vaccine is right for you. and why a trading app is coming under fire for limiting trades under certain stocks. You're watching KOAM Morning News. More real news in the morning. We'll be right back.
East Newton Patriots 17-1 on the basketball season. Now, we just have 2 weeks left in the regular season. The Patriots on an 11-game winning streak, up to number 5 in the Missouri Class 4 state rankings. Number 5 may be an understatement. Last night, East Newton puts its winning streak on the line as they host the Joplin Eagles. Pats start out. Lucas Kimbrough on the floor, team high 21. First quarter, all about Kyson Lyman. Lyman working across the lane for the finish. Turn around the other way. Get the foul. 10 in the first quarter for Lyman. He's finished with 18. Second quarter, the Eagles trying to stick around. Dante Washington. Ooh, quick crossover. Get 3 just before the half. Always right. Straight to the basket. Now the Eagles would get within 7 at the half, but East Newton make it 18-1 on the season and 12 straight as they win it 66-50. Uniontown girls on a roll right now, winners of 8 straight games. Our own Danny Terzer caught up with the Eagles to talk about what's behind the team's hot start.
It's been a special season for Uniontown's girls basketball team. The Eagles are 9-1 to start the season. Coach Dustin Miller says the break over the summer was a blessing in disguise.
Allowed the girls to really settle in and realize how much they love to play the game of basketball. So when we were able to get back going again, they came out firing.
Carly Schoenberger has made a statement in her senior season.
When she comes off the court, she's usually mad at me because she doesn't want to come off. And that's what I like to see.
She's definitely someone that I can rely on all the time.
Last week, Schoenberger reached 1,000 career points.
I kind of teared up. I was like, that just happened. Like, that was a huge goal of mine.
That's great for anybody at any level to hit 1,000 points, especially here. Not many people have done it, so it's pretty impressive, and I'm super excited for her.
Her running mate, Danielle Howard, is the team's leading scorer, averaging 18.8 points per game and giving the Eagles a strong 1-2 punch.
We've always had great chemistry. She's a point guard and I can score, so it just kind of has always clicked.
We've always just pushed each other to be better, and that's what helps us get to where we were today.
A hot start for the Eagles, but there's still work to be done. As Uniontown now heads into the second half of the season, they'll look to close it out just as strong as they began.
We still have to keep working hard in practice every day, doing those fundamental skills, just keep that team chemistry going as much as we can and just work hard.
The goal is simple: win the league and make it to state. In Uniontown, Danny Terzer, KOAM Sports.
Long before they have to put some more buckets in the basket, Uniontown back on the floor tonight with a host Chetopa. Still to come on the KOAM Morning News, a Canadian couple accused of posing as motel workers to cut the line and get a COVID vaccine early. And a check on our 7-day forecast when the KOAM Morning News returns. Time for a little weather on the 7s as we find ourselves straight up at 5:17 on this Friday morning. Live look from the Skywatch Storm Tracker with the sweeping radar picking up our cloud cover. No precipitation though, very dry Midwest. You see the clouds are kind of intermittent, but here's everything that we're looking at out to the west as we're going to stay not only on the dry side, but everything's going to clear off as well. From the Freeman Health System sky camera in Joplin, we sit at 33 degrees. Wind chill, 28, and I want to pay attention to that third column right there because it is going to be a blustery one later on today. It's going to come in probably about 15 to 20 miles an hour before it's all said and done. Here's what we're looking at temperature-wise right now. 33 in Welch, 32 in Lamar, 30 in Iola, and updated wind motion. I picked up a 15 mile per hour earlier. Okay, we're sitting in between 10 and 11. But please know, especially high profile vehicles traveling east and west. So I'm going to kind of identify I-44 and Highway 400 as our areas that we need to be very, very careful about as we progress through the afternoon hours. Not a big difference in wind chills. We're able to hang on to the low 20s as far as what it feels like. Now, we're going to make it up into the 50s today. It's going to be absolutely a delightful late January Friday. You're not going to be able to beat this, and here's why. Because coming off of today with sunshine and 50s, yeah, we got a little change over the weekend, and that's going to be a whole lot of rain. It's going to work its way from Texas up through Oklahoma here just in time for Saturday morning. And as it sweeps through, we're going to see some pockets of pretty heavy rain as well. Little thunder and lightning, not looking at anything severe, but more so want to concentrate on what we're talking about for flood warnings and advisories, because our ground's already saturated from what we had earlier this week. And so as we progress through that, we need to be very, very careful about those low-lying areas. If you have anything that you got to be on the road for, probably, if you can delay that until Sunday, you're certainly going to be safer. That is for sure. All right, time now to turn our attention to the KOAM News Now Facebook page, our morning Instagram. Robin Hood, as the story goes, stole from the rich and gave to the poor. But many today claiming the popular stock trading app, Robin Hood, appears to be doing something close to the opposite. Diana King Hall, she has more on the controversy brewing on Wall Street.
A situation some are calling a David versus Goliath battle came to a head on Wall Street yesterday. It all started when big players like hedge funds began shorting stocks like struggling video game store GameStop, essentially betting the price would drop. If it did, they would make money. Small investors, though, took to a Reddit forum to encourage individuals to buy, driving up the stock price dramatically and creating massive losses for those big-time Wall Street investors.
They're kind of sticking it to the big institutional investors, the hedge funds, by basically forcing the big guys to lose money because they had been shorting or betting against GameStop.
After about a week of individual investors pushing up prices, some online brokers yesterday placed curbs on trading, most notably Robinhood. Its CEO says it restricted trading on about 13 stocks, including GameStop. The move drew immediate condemnation on social media, including from several lawmakers on both sides of the aisle. Democrat Representative Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez tweeted, "We now need to know more about Robinhood's decision to block retail investors from purchasing stock, while hedge funds are freely able to trade the stock as they see fit."
Interesting, isn't it? I understand that the administration is taking a look, the SEC is taking a look at what that is.
Robinhood CEO insists it restricted trading not to appease its large brokerage firm partners, but rather it had to issue the curbs because of certain financial requirements.
We absolutely did not do this at the direction of any market maker or hedge fund or anyone we route to or other market participants.
Robinhood says it plans to allow limited purchases of the stocks in question today, though it will continue to monitor the situation. Diane King Hall, CBS News, New York.
KOAM News Now Facebook page and our Insta poll: should trading app Robinhood be able to restrict individual investments? Go to KOAMnewsnow.com/vote. Health Watch next.
Topping Health Watch this morning, 2 doses of the 2 coronavirus vaccines currently authorized in the U.S. are needed to be effective. And the CDC is urging vaccine recipients to get that second dose on time. Mandy Gaither has more.
While there's a small amount of wiggle room when it comes to getting vaccinated against the coronavirus, the CDC is urging Americans to make sure they get the second dose of the same vaccine on time.
That would be 3 weeks for the Pfizer vaccine and 4 weeks for the Moderna vaccine.
CDC Director Dr. Rochelle Walensky says they know life can get in the way and some may miss their second dose window.
In those rare circumstances, the second dose may be given up to 6 weeks or 42 days after the first.
The CDC says the most common vaccine side effects are pain, swelling, and redness in the arm where you got the shot, and more commonly seen after the second dose, chills, tiredness, and headache. The side effects usually start within a day or two of getting the vaccine, but go away after a few days. Most have been mild to moderate.
These symptoms mean that your immune system is revving up and the vaccine is actually working.
However, the CDC says a small number of people have had severe side effects that affected their ability to do daily activities. Walensky says severe allergic reactions, known as anaphylaxis, are not a major problem with the coronavirus vaccine so far, happening a handful of times.
Let me be clear. These are rare, treatable outcomes, and the COVID-19 vaccines are safe.
For Health Minute, I'm Andy Gaither.
Well, if you've had a severe allergic reaction or an immediate allergic reaction, even if it was not severe to any ingredient in the vaccines, the CDC says you should not get it. You can find a list of the ingredients on the CDC's website under the COVID-19 vaccines tab. A new study finds pregnant women with serious coronavirus symptoms are at greater risk of dying than non-pregnant women with the same symptoms. They also found severe illness leads to more serious complications for pregnant women. But mild coronavirus in pregnant women did not mean a greater risk for complications. We'll be right back. Good morning, I'm Tanya Bonk with your KOAM news update. Miami, Oklahoma police take a man into custody following a standoff. Just before 9 p.m. last night, Miami police responded to a report of shots fired in the 1100 block of I-Northwest. The suspect had barricaded himself inside. Officers were able to take that suspect into custody without incident. Missouri Senators Roy Blunt and Josh Hawley reintroduced legislation aimed at improving the safety of duck boats. The legislation would authorize provisions to require the use of life jackets and equipping all operating duck boats to be more buoyant in the case of emergency flooding. A new company plans to bring duck boats back to Branson. An assistant principal at a Southwest Missouri junior high school faces charges related to child pornography. 41-year-old Colby Fronterhouse is charged with sexual exploitation of a child. A court affidavit says Fronterhouse pretended to be a 14-year-old girl, sending sexually explicit messages to a 13-year-old boy. Here's Michael with today's forecast.
Highs up in the 50s today. Good dose of sunshine. Not going to be too bad of a January Friday, to say the least. But remember, we've got rain that's going to encompass us beginning Saturday morning. A little bit of a muddy weekend. Be back after this.
Talking. I was born this way. I'm on the right track, baby.
Oklahoma.
Miami, Oklahoma police take a man into custody following an armed standoff. We'll have the latest, plus a look at legislation aimed at improving duck boat safety and why some Southeast Kansas residents are facing problems with their unemployment checks.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
Good morning and welcome to the KOAM Morning News. It's 5:30. I'm Tanya Bach. Coming up this half hour, our own Jesse Irwin gets a preview of upcoming Connect to Culture events. And for our morning talker, we're asking, should trading app Robinhood be able to restrict individual investments? You can participate in our Insta poll at KOAMnewsnow.com/vote. But first, a check on your forecast.
Those clouds slowly beginning to work their way out. It's an absolutely gorgeous morning. Temperatures certainly not too bad at all as we take a live look from the Freeman Health System sky camera in Joplin. Sitting right above the freezing mark, 33 degrees. Now that wind is going to pick up. It's going to be a little bit of a blustery afternoon, but because we see those arrows working in from the south, well, that means it's actually going to be way above normal for this time of year. Not a whole lot of wind chill in effect. We're able to stay in the 20s. Mount Vernon just failed me right there. Slipped down to 19. So make sure they're bundled up as they make their way to the bus stop. But actually, by the time they get out of school, we're talking about 50-degree weather. You know, normally this time of year, we'd be about 45, 46 degrees. So, 5, 6 degrees above that, can't beat it. Now, we've got big changes over the weekend. If you've got Saturday plans, well, let's talk about them. Because we've got a system that moves in out of Texas through Oklahoma, and it's going to give us a good amount of rain. We're talking some pockets of extremely heavy rain, anywhere from 1.25 inches to 2 inches as this thing rolls through for Saturday morning. Now, Tanya had a good question. She's like, when does it end? Well, if you're out west, it's going to be the afternoon, but if you're on the eastern edge of southwest Missouri, yeah, this thing's going to kind of sustain itself all the way into the evening hours. So while the temperatures are nice, it is going to be a little bit muddy out there on Saturday and Sunday.
What I like to see, though, is even with all the rain, and we know there's going to be a lot of moisture on the ground, by Saturday night, it's not expected to freeze. So
yeah,
that's
no,
promising.
we'll be good. Nothing's going to flip over. No worry about winter weather. Put it that way. More concerned about creeks and streams and the flooding, especially in low-lying areas. Yeah, positive. It's not a weekday where people are commuting. But like I said, if you had outdoor plans, yeah.
Again,
We
route.
may want to find route B on that
Our
one.
famous phrase, turn around, don't drown, know your route, and have a plan.
Right, and it's just because we're so saturated from this entire week, and now we're just going to pile on. It's going to be one of the wettest January. It's going to be a top 10 January precipitation on record.
All right. Yeah, I'd rather have it with rain than with that other white stuff.
No, I'm with you on that. Yeah, no, I agree with you.
We're not going to talk about that. Or the ice. All right, thanks, Michael. New this morning, Miami, Oklahoma police take a man into custody following a standoff. Just before 9 p.m. last night, Miami police responded to a report of shots fired in the 1100 block of I-Northwest. Police say a male suspect fired at another person following a physical altercation. The victim did not suffer a gunshot wound, however, had several wounds consistent with a fist fight. When Miami police arrived, the suspect barricaded himself inside with a family member. Officers at the house made numerous attempts to talk him out, but he refused to surrender. Police were able to get the family member out of the house. Officers then breached the home and took Green into custody without incident. Missouri Senators Roy Blunt and Josh Hawley say they've reintroduced legislation aimed at improving the safety of duck boats. They originally filed the legislation in response to the sinking of a Branson duck boat in 2018. The legislation would authorize previously outlined National Transportation Safety Board recommendations, including provisions to require the use of life jackets and equipping all operating duck boats to be more buoyant in the case of emergency flooding. A new company plans to bring duck boats back to Branson. The company, Branson Duck Boats LLC, says it'll use boats, quote, proven to be unsinkable by the U.S. Coast Guard. The Joplin Health Department reports 3 more COVID-19 related deaths. They say the patients were a 54-year-old man and 2 women ages 71 and 73. These latest deaths bring the city's total coronavirus death count to 115. The Homeless Coalition of Jasper and Newton counties is working on getting a count of all of the homeless people in the region. They do that by trying to meet them where they are. Once the count is complete, it helps local agencies leverage private, local, state, and federal funds for local programs.
Due to raise community awareness of the homeless in the area, this town here, Carthage, doesn't have, I don't think, as much of a homeless problem probably as Joplin does. It's also important for funding sources for our continuum.
Homeless Coalition was established in 1989. Some Southeast Kansas residents say they've had a hard time getting their unemployment checks. We've heard from several residents who say the Kansas Department of Labor has missed payments and they can't get through to contact the department. Iola resident Vicki Geisler and her husband Jack are 2 of them. They've both been unemployed since March of last year. Vicki's regular and extended benefits ran out a little more than a month ago, so she's applied for a different extension and says she has not heard back. Her husband was supposed to get a check this week, but it's held up. A lot of people are excited to celebrate the Super Bowl, but how can you do it safely? KOAM's Bronte Sorotsky talked to restaurant owners and health professionals to find out.
Your Super Bowl parties may look a bit different this year. At least, that's what public health professionals recommend.
My advice would be to stay away.
Donna Stokes, an infection preventionist at Mercy Hospital, says that although we may be seeing a decline in COVID cases locally, we can't let our guard down just yet.
There's the potential to see a spike after the Super Bowl. I think people are really excited. Go Kansas City Chiefs. And I believe that we will see something very similar to what we saw after Christmas and New Year's.
She says that those wishing to visit a bar or restaurant to watch the game should opt for takeout. Local restaurant owner Floyd Hackett is trying to take precautions against the virus by having customers pre-order for game day and practicing social distancing.
You have to call, and you can call or come in and get on the prepaid list, and then or you can call and come in and get on the list to reserve a table. Now we're gonna have to do social distancing, and we're gonna have to make sure everybody's taken care of. But I mean, we during the game time and stuff, we did that. Everybody had a ball in here, so I mean, we could just go keep it going through the Super Bowl.
While this Super Bowl is certainly one to be excited about, it's important to keep safety in mind while celebrating. In Joplin, Bronte Sorotsky, KOAM News.
Kansas City Chiefs will be playing the Tampa Bay Buccaneers in the Super Bowl on February 7th, right here on KOAM. Kickoff, 5:30. That's a look at our top news stories. Coming up this half hour on the KOAM Morning News, our very own Jesse Irwin gets a preview of upcoming events in the 4 states arts community.
That's right, we're hanging out with Connect to Culture. Emily Frankowski joins us here on the KOAM Morning News, where we're talking about their groundbreaking ceremony for the Cornell complex and a lot of events coming up.
Plus, the Polish government has announced it's imposing a near total ban on abortions. We'll have the latest, but first, it's 5:37.
Step outside as the cloud cover breaks. Get a great shot of our January full moon, known as the Wolf Moon. And then enjoy a weekender that we're going to have plenty of sunshine and work all the way up into the 50s. But remember, it's going to be a wet weekend. Be back with World Watch right after this.
Topping World Watch in northern Canada, a wealthy couple is accused of posing as motel workers to jump the line and get their shots. Paula Newton tells us who they are and how they managed to pull it off.
Seems unthinkable in its deceit, and officials say residents are still shaken. Authorities in the Canadian territory of Yukon allege Rodney Baker, a former gaming executive, and his wife, Ekaterina, from Vancouver, chartered a plane to a tiny community shortly after arriving in the Yukon, and allegedly posing as local workers, received a vaccine they weren't entitled to.
I think there's a lot of people that are really upset. There's a lot of outrage here still that people would selfishly come to the Yukon and put our communities at risk.
It happened in the tiny outpost of Beaver Creek, close to the Alaskan border. Authorities say the couple flew to the city of Whitehorse in the Yukon earlier this month, and instead of isolating for 2 weeks, as they were legally required, they chartered a plane to Beaver Creek, where they allegedly knew a mobile clinic was setting up to vaccinate everyone who lived and worked there. Home to Indigenous communities, the Yukon is especially vulnerable to COVID-19 with few medical facilities. Canada has given Indigenous and Northern residents priority for vaccines, knowing lives are on the line.
They went to a small community, and that, I will tell you, Paula, that has sent a shock through our territory. I had 2 calls yesterday with all of the First Nation chiefs from across the Yukon discussing how we can be sure to keep everybody safe.
What has been so unnerving, say residents, is the fact that the Bakers broke quarantine, putting at risk thousands who have sacrificed so much to keep the virus from ravaging remote communities. CNN has reached out several times to the Bakers for comment and have not heard back. The Bakers were charged under the Civil Emergency Measures Act, not for getting the vaccine, but for breaking quarantine. Fines can reach $500 Canadian and up to 6 months in prison or both. The Bakers were each fined the maximum and a surcharge, and the Royal Canadian Mounted Police tell CNN they are still investigating. While the couple has not been fined for actually getting the vaccine, the Canadian minister in charge of the vaccination rollout in Indigenous communities says the bakers should do more.
I'm disgusted. I understand these people are wealthy, and I won't tell them what to do with their money, but perhaps reparations are due of some level.
Officials in the Yukon say they haven't received anything from the couple yet, not even an apology. And Indigenous leaders say they want harsher punishments in place to make sure this can't happen again.
The Polish government has announced the implementation of a controversial ruling imposing a near-total ban on abortions. The move by the government was unexpected, dealing a blow to pro-choice advocates. Demonstrators took to the streets of Warsaw on Thursday, denouncing the move. The ruling, handed down by Poland's Constitutional Tribunal Court late last year, states that abortions may only be permitted in cases of rape, incest, or when the mother's life is in danger. That's a look at some of your biggest headlines from around the world. We'll be right back. Here's a check of today's top headlines, the news you need to know before you head out the door. Miami, Oklahoma police take a man into custody following a standoff. Just before 9 p.m. last night, Miami police responded to a report of shots fired in the 1100 block of I-Northwest. Police say a male suspect fired at another person following a physical altercation. The victim did not suffer a gunshot wound, however, had several wounds consistent with a fistfight. When Miami police arrived, the suspect barricaded himself inside with a family member. Officers at the house made numerous attempts to talk him out, but he refused to surrender. Police were able to get the family member out of the house. Officers then breached the home and took the suspect into custody without incident. Missouri Senators Roy Blunt and Josh Hawley say they've reintroduced legislation aimed at improving the safety of duck boats. They originally filed the legislation in response to the sinking of a Branson duck boat in 2018. The legislation would authorize previously outlined National Transportation Safety Board recommendations, including provisions to require the use of life jackets and equipping all operating duck boats to be more buoyant in the case of emergency flooding. A new company plans to bring duck boats back to Branson. The company, Branson Duck Boats LLC, says it'll use boats proven to be unsinkable by the U.S. Coast Guard. Well, some Southeast Kansas residents say they've had a hard time getting their unemployment checks. We've heard from several residents who say the Kansas Department of Labor has missed payments, and they can't get a hold of them to contact the department. Iola resident Vicki Geisler and her husband Jack are two of them. They've both been unemployed since March of last year. Vicki's regular and extended benefits ran out a little more than a month ago, so she's applied for a different extension and says she has not heard back. Her husband was supposed to get a check this week, but it's held up. The highly transmissible COVID-19 variant first identified in South Africa is now in the U.S. 2 South Carolina adults were diagnosed in different parts of the state, becoming the nation's first known cases of the strain. Health officials say neither had traveled recently. That's a check of today's top headlines, the news you need to know before you head out the door.
Take our light cloud cover on this Friday morning. We'll dispatch it off to the east. If you have the opportunity, get out and look at our January full moon, also known as the wolf moon. And we'll have some great pictures of that on KOAMnewsnow.com and our Facebook page. So highs in the 50s later on this afternoon. Unseasonably warm, but we've got a little bit of a muddy mess on our hands as we push into the weekend. As rain formulates in Texas, works its way through Oklahoma, and is on us for Saturday morning all through the afternoon and evening hours. So if you have those outdoor plans, just make sure you're prepared, because it's going to rain everywhere. Back right after this. We're looking at right now, according to KOMnewsnow.com, 9 days, 11 hours, 37 minutes, and 30 seconds. Thanks in part to Aaron Sachs and Associates for our big game countdown clock. Now, several schools around the 4 states gearing up for the game with a little Spirit Week. So we figured out, why can't we join in the fun? We're supporting the Chiefs next week with a Spirit Week of our own, and we would love you to take part with us. As you can see, we have a different theme each day, ranging from Travis Tuesday to Throwback Thursday. Send us photos of you, the kids, I don't know if you got a dog or a cat and they're dressed up in Chiefs gear. We want to see it. And you're going to be able to enjoy everybody else's photos along with yours on the KOAM Morning News. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to kick it off with Mahomes Monday. Throw on that Patrick Mahomes jersey, a headband, that haircut you got, or break out any Patrick Mahomes related accessories. I think I'm going to extend it. If you got anything that his dad wore as a Minnesota Twin, yeah, I want to see that too. Props to the Carl Junction School District. That's where we kind of borrowed those ideas for our themes. Good job, CJ. What you guys put together is awesome. Also, too, we're going to be challenging you to run it back trivia all next week. So here's the deal. This is your chance to test your Chiefs knowledge, also win some awesome prizes. That's right, we're doing prize. So tune in right after Nation Watch in our 6 o'clock hour, and that's where we're going to do what we're going to call Run It Back Trivia all next week. And it's going to be easy to do. Just want everybody to be prepared for it, okay? Run It Back Trivia after the 6 o'clock hour after Nation Watch. All right, now time to check in with our own Jesse Irwin.
Well, as we begin a new month, we're getting into the second month of 2021, and of course, we can't start a new month without, well, a couple of things, but most importantly, talking to Emily Frankowski with Connect to Culture. And Emily, I am so happy to be able to talk to you because you've recently made a big announcement as an organization.
Yes, we have. So this Monday, February 1st, we are going to have the groundbreaking for the Harry M. Cornell Arts and Entertainment Complex, which will be a new performing and visual arts center in downtown Joplin. And it will be, not only the home for Connect to Culture and Spiva Center for the Arts, but also other organizations like Pro Musica and anyone else that wants to join us on the way. And it's just going to be a home for the arts in Joplin, an actual home where tons of things are happening that everyone hopefully will take part in. So that's going to be Monday at 1 p.m. Everyone is asked, come on down. We're going to be socially distant, have masks on, and it's going to be a lot of fun.
This has been a long time in the works. And before we get into, our talking about events, performances, and exhibits and classes, I just want to highlight this because the work to get to the point where you can have a groundbreaking. I mean, everybody imagines and thinks about the moment with the big scissors and the helmets, but this is how do you feel? What's it feel like to be working on something for years and now see it come to fruition?
It feels surreal. I mean, it has been a long time coming. It's been, so many people have been working extremely hard since 2009 to make this a reality. And I've been, there for most of those years, not all of them, but it's just going to be such an exciting time for Joplin. And I'm, selfishly looking forward to having a brand new office and, place for Connect to Culture to have performances regularly, and just open like a world of possibilities. Right now we're so limited with the venues that we don't really have in Joplin. And not only ourselves will be able to use it, but other organizations that lack that kind of performance space. And then amazing exhibits at Spiva that they don't have the space for or the requirements needed. And so it's just really going to boost quality of life in Joplin and help make downtown even cooler than it already is.
Well, there is a lot coming up in the month of February. I know we don't have the full venue yet, but there is still a lot happening. So I would like to highlight those events, exhibits, classes, you name it, coming up here in a little bit. So don't leave us, Emily. We're going to be right back on the KOAM Morning News right after this.
Low 30s right now. It's not too bad for a January morning, especially when you consider the fact that we're finally getting a good dose of sunshine, and we're going to make it all the way up into the 50s today. It's going to be absolutely a delightful afternoon and evening. Now, big changes, though, by the time we get to Saturday, because we've got rain that formulates in Texas, makes its way through Oklahoma, and is on us. It's going to be a wet and muddy weekend. All the latest on the Skywatch weather app.
Miami, Oklahoma police take a man into custody following an armed standoff. We'll have the latest, plus a look at legislation aimed at improving duck boat safety and why some Southeast Kansas residents are facing problems with their unemployment checks.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
Good morning and welcome to the KOAM Morning News. It's 6 a.m. I'm Tanya Bach. Coming up this half hour, a company is now selling at-home COVID-19 tests in a unique way. We'll check it out. And for our morning talker, we're asking, should trading app Robinhood be able to restrict individual investments? You can go ahead and weigh in on that. But first, a check on your forecast.
Slowly but surely, the cloud cover moving out to the east. Got a great shot of our January full moon that is called the Wolf Moon. It's got a number of names. Tanya and I were talking about that. Most commonly known as the Wolf Moon during January, and it's absolutely gorgeous as well. When we take a look at what we've got temperature-wise, we're talking about 33 in Joplin, a whole bunch of 33s throughout southeast Kansas, and several 30s in Lamar and in Monette. But the nice thing is that we're dry. But look at those wind arrows right there. See those barreling in from the south? Well, we're going to keep on increasing right now. We've got double-digit sustained winds in both Chanute and in Joplin, going to gust up to 25, 30 miles an hour here a little bit later on this afternoon. It won't be on us this morning. This morning we'll just roll 10 to 15 miles per hour. But we do have wind chills that are as low as 21 in Mount Vernon. And the reason I'm kind of picking on Mount Vernon there is because it was down to 19 a little bit earlier. So, I mean, we're going to warm up pretty fast because we're talking about a high today in the 50s. Yeah, late January, 50-degree weather. It's going to be absolutely beautiful. But here's the caveat. If you have anything that you wanted to do Saturday or Sunday for that matter, it's going to be wet. Because number one, we've got rain that begins from the southwest on Saturday morning, and by the time it does that little counterclockwise motion right there, it's not really going to be done until Saturday evening, especially on the eastern portion of southwest Missouri. And the reason I bring up the entire weekend, Tanya, is because we're going to absorb enough rain on Saturday that historically we're going to have one of the top 10 wettest Januaries on record at Joplin Regional Airport. And while Sunday we're going to dry, I won't say we're going to dry out. Like Sunday we don't have to worry about rain. We're going to get enough on Saturday. It's still going to be a muddy mess.
Oh man. Well, just be safe out there,
Yeah, I'm going to go with an inch to inch and a half. And so if we go that route, we're going to go pockets. Then we'll see pockets of 2 to 2.5 inches of rain.
I hope that rain is enough to clear off the icy patches that are just stuck on my back porch in the shade before it gets muddy again.
No, and that's a good point. It should, because our temperature, the daily high is still going to be in the 50s. I mean, yeah. It's going to be walking outside is not going to be a problem temperature-wise if you're covered. It's not going to stop.
Yeah, you just need that rain jacket with you for sure.
Yeah.
All right, thanks, Michael. New this morning, Miami, Oklahoma police take a man into custody following a standoff. Just before 9 p.m. last night, Miami police responded to a report of shots fired in the 1100 block of I-Northwest. Police say a male suspect fired at another person following a physical altercation. The victim did not suffer a gunshot wound, however, had several wounds consistent with a fist fight. When Miami police arrived, the suspect barricaded himself inside with a family member. Officers at the house made numerous attempts to talk him out, but he refused to surrender. And police were able to get the family member out of the house. Officers then breached the home and took the suspect into custody without incident. Missouri Senators Roy Blunt and Josh Hawley say they've reintroduced legislation aimed at improving the safety of duck boats. They originally filed the legislation in response to the sinking of a Branson duck boat in 2018. The legislation would authorize previously outlined National Transportation Safety Board recommendations, including provisions to require the use of life jackets and equipping all operating duck boats to be more buoyant in the case of emergency flooding. A new company plans to bring duck boats back to Branson. The company Branson Duck Boats LLC says It'll use boats proven to be unsinkable by the U.S. Coast Guard. The Joplin Health Department reports 3 more COVID-19 related deaths. They say the patients were a 54-year-old man and 2 women, ages 71 and 73. These latest deaths bring the city's total to 115. An assistant principal at a Southwest Missouri junior high school faces charges related to child pornography. Federal authorities say 41-year-old Colby Fronterhouse, an assistant principal at Nixa Junior High School, is charged with sexual exploitation of a child for the purpose of producing child pornography. Court affidavit says Fronterhouse pretended to be a 14-year-old girl, sending sexually explicit messages to a 13-year-old boy. Federal authorities also say Fronterhouse gained access to the victim's cell phone through school records. Authorities arrested Fronterhouse on Tuesday. He's on administrative leave from the junior high while the case is under investigation. Some Southeast Kansas residents are fighting problems with unemployment insurance and pandemic assistance. KOAM Zach Dodge tells us how it's impacting one Iola family.
Iola residents Vicki and Jack Geisler have both been unemployed since March. They qualify for unemployment but have run into a few snags.
It's a little over $3,000 they owe me.
Vicki says that at first she was able to draw unemployment without many issues. It wasn't until her regular benefits had been exhausted when she applied for pandemic unemployment assistance that she stopped getting checks. That was 6 weeks ago.
He told me that my weeks were payable and they would pay out as soon as they got the updates fixed in the system. Haven't seen any money yet.
Her husband's unemployment was set to end this week, but that last check is being delayed because of a security update the Department of Labor is doing.
We were relying on that last bit of money to help pay the utility bill, and guess what? No money because they stopped everybody's payments from going out. So we're stuck in a hole right now with no way to get out of it.
And the Geislers aren't the only ones. The Kansas Department of Labor says there's currently more than 14,000 pandemic unemployment assistance claims that are in the determination process. The department also says they've not yet put that program online because they have to update their 70s era computer system to do so. And when it comes to regular benefits that are being delayed due to the security update, they say they're not sure when the funds will go through, just that they will. So in the meantime, residents like the Geislers are left waiting.
Pay the people what you owe them, just pay out. Get things rolling so people can get their money because there's so many people that need it right now.
Zach Dodge, KOAM News.
Vicki Geisler tells us she was hired for a new job yesterday, but she won't get her first paycheck for at least 2 weeks. 6:07.
So, Tanya, I was looking at our precipitation accumulation for this month, and we're number 10 all time right now. And if we got a chance to push up here, probably end up about 3 or 4 on record with the rain we're going to get on Saturday. Now, enjoy your Friday. Sunny skies. 54 degrees, but like I said, that rain's going to kick in on Monday. It's going to last all day long.
For sure. Well, that's a look at this morning's top stories and weather in our first 7 minutes. Coming up on the KOAM Morning News, a new type of vending machine.
You won't find chips or soda in this vending machine. I'm Naomi Ruckham with a look at a new way to buy at-home COVID-19 tests.
Plus, another new, more contagious strain of the coronavirus is detected here in the U.S. And our own Jesse Irwin brings us more on Connect to Culture.
Well, we've talked about how Connect to Culture will have its groundbreaking ceremony on Monday for the new building, but what kind of events are happening until that building opens in a year or two? We'll have a couple of those with Emily Frankowski from Connect to Culture coming up. You're watching the KOAM Morning News. Real News in the Morning. We'll be right back.
In Money Watch this morning, there are now several at-home COVID-19 tests on the market. Usually you have to send away for one or buy it at a store, but one company is selling them in a unique way. Naomi Ruckham explains.
No more long lines or appointments for a COVID test. Soon they will be available in a vending machine.
Grocery stores, shopping malls, airports, and subway stations.
The company Wellness for Humanity unveiled the first machine in New York. Customers purchase the $119 test online and are sent a barcode which is scanned.
Simply place it in front of the vending machine.
Seconds later, the box pops out. Inside is a saliva test that can be done at home and shipped off to a lab. Once received, results take 1 or 2 days. They're advertised to be 99% accurate. The company plans to roll out 1,000 of the machines in locations across the country over the next 6 months. Other companies have similar vending machines that are used in Europe and Asia. The University of California in San Diego created one with free test kits exclusively for students who are required to get tested at least once a week.
Swab your nose, put it back there, and then 24 hours later, you have your answer.
People without a convenient vending machine can find at-home tests in stores and online, but results can take days. Companies like Illum are planning to offer kits that provide an answer in minutes. Customers take a nasal swab, which is read by a Bluetooth-connected analyzer and an app. It's expected to cost $30 and be in stores in the coming months. Wellness for Humanity is also developing a test with results in 15 minutes. It will eventually be available in the vending machines. Naomi Ruckham, CBS News, New York.
Some at-home tests may be covered by insurance. Experts say it's important to buy one that has received emergency authorization use from the FDA. Lady Gaga fans are in for a sweet treat. The pop star has teamed up with Oreo to create her very own limited edition cookie. They're bright pink with green cream filling. Oreo is inspired by her dance album Chromatica. Oreo and Lady Gaga also rolled out a campaign that encourages fans to send musical messages to loved ones. Fans can create the so-called Oreograms by recording a personal message on the Sing It with Oreo website. That's kind of sweet. That's it for Money Watch. We'll be right back.
There. Let's take a look at our weather almanac for our weather on the 7th as we hit 617 straight up right now. The thing I want to pay attention to is that precipitation for the month, because as we sit at 3.19 inches, I did a little historical background searching for us, and by the time we get past Saturday, well, we're about 12th. Let's say we didn't get any more rain. We're about 12th all-time on record for January at Joplin Regional Airport. But here's the thing. We're going to pick up about another inch and a half, and we're going to end up probably in the top 5 pretty easily. As far as what we're looking at from the national perspective, still got that mess out there on the West Coast. But nice thing is here in the 4 states, we're beginning to clear off. Great shot right now if you step outside for what's known as the January full moon, AKA the wolf moon. Absolutely gorgeous, and we're going to post some shots there on KOAMNewsNow.com and our Facebook page from our good friend Emmett Sullivan. 33 in Joplin, 34 in Parsons. Let's roll 31 in Nevada, and right at the freezing mark of 32 in Miami. But since we're on the dry side, no worries about any precipitation flipping over. Going to make it up into the 50s later on this afternoon. An absolutely delightful way to end our work week, especially considering that we're in late January. Now, we were talking about rain earlier. Well, here it comes. It's going to move out of Texas and then develop in Oklahoma, move up from the southwest and get on us on Saturday morning. And it's going to be widespread. Everybody's going to have a little bit of rain. And really, Saturday morning, look at that. That's pretty impressive right there. And because our ground is saturated, not only with the rain we had earlier this week, but factor in the snow as well. And we need to pay attention to low-lying areas, creeks, and streams. Now, we're going to calm down here. We're going to calm down here on Sunday, but at the same point in time, I need everybody to know that if you have weekend plans, might be better, if you can, to push them off until next weekend. Now, let's turn it over to our own Jesse Irwin.
Well, this morning we are joined by our friend Emily Frankowski, who is getting ready to do a groundbreaking ceremony on Monday for Connect to Culture's new Cornell complex. And Emily, I'm happy to be able to talk to you not only about the Cornell complex, but the fact that as the ground is broken, I mean, we're kicking off a new month with a lot of different events, performances, you name it. And we love highlighting some of them. So what's sticking out to you in the month of February?
All right, so we've got some live theater possibilities. Stained Glass Theater is going to be presenting Charlie's Aunt. I don't know if you've ever heard of this one. It's actually a pretty old one, but this will be Thursday through Sunday, February 4th through 14th at 7 p.m., Sundays at 2:30 in the afternoon. A really fun production, lots of laughable moments. And then Pro Musica has something coming up. It's going to be a virtual concert in partnership with the Lincoln Center. So it's called Lincoln Center's Anthony McGill Virtual Concert, who's a very talented clarinetist. And that's Thursday, February 11th through the 18th, actually. So you can register. It's online.
That's really cool. All right. And then hit us with, do you have one or two more you can highlight for us before we got to go to break?
JRAC, Joplin Regional Artists Coalition, is going to be having an exhibit at Art Central, a membership show. And it's called Kaleidoscope. All of the artwork is going to revolve around that theme of kaleidoscope. That's February 5th through March 13th at Art Central. They'll also have a opening reception that will be on Friday, February 5th, 6 to 8 p.m. online on the Art Central Facebook page, I believe. And they will show each piece and talk about it, and you'll learn more about the artists.
Awesome. And then I know Firehouse Pottery has a class coming up. We'll have the info on our website about that. And then Shoal Creek Conservation Education Center's got, I mean, everybody's got stuff going on. So, and you have all the information on connecttoculture.org, right?
Absolutely. Yep. It's all there. connecttoculture.org/February 2021.
You couldn't make it easier, really. I mean, it's so easy to find that. And if you can't find it, don't worry, because we have it on our website. Just go to KOAMnewsnow.com, go to our morning show page. We'll have all that on there and the link to Connect to Culture's site. We'll be right back after this.
What are you?
Topping Health Watch this morning, the discovery of yet another coronavirus variant is adding even more urgency to the fight against the pandemic. Experts say it may spread more easily, and the vaccines we currently have may not be as effective against it. Deborah Alfarone has the latest from Washington.
A dangerous new coronavirus strain has turned up in the United States, infecting 2 patients in different parts of South Carolina.
There is no known travel history, and there is no known connection between the 2 cases.
This variant was initially detected in South Africa. It's believed to be more contagious and possibly more resistant to vaccines.
The more uncontrolled spread of virus there is in this country or anywhere in the world, the more likely it is that strains will emerge and spread which are either more infectious or potentially even more lethal.
The discovery comes as another highly infectious variant takes hold in the U.S. It was first identified in the U.K. and has now been found in over half the states.
There are some encouraging signs to report. The nation's overall infection and hospitalization numbers are down roughly 35% from highs set earlier this month.
Every 2,000 folks over the age of 65 that we vaccinate is 4 lives saved.
The CDC says 26.2 million COVID-19 vaccine doses have been administered in the U.S. so far.
I just hope to stick around long enough to see my great-grandchildren grow up.
More vaccines could be coming. Novavax says clinical trials show its vaccine has 90% effectiveness against the coronavirus, but the drug maker said it was less effective against the South African variant. Deborah Alfarone, CBS News, Washington.
Both Moderna and Pfizer have already started working on booster shots against the variant identified in South Africa. Good Morning America co-host and NFL Hall of Famer Michael Strahan has COVID-19. On Thursday, Strahan's colleagues on the news program confirmed that he tested positive for the virus. They said Strahan is at home in quarantine and feeling well. Co-host Robin Roberts, George Stephanopoulos, and Amy Robach said they have all been cleared to continue working after contact tracing. They said Strahan is looking forward to returning to work. Having trouble sleeping these days? Well, you're not alone. A Safety.com survey found up to 61 million adults in the U.S. have lost sleep over safety concerns. 1 in 4 adults said they had trouble sleeping over the past year due to fears of a home burglary. The tossing and turning is also affecting men and women differently. More than half of women surveyed claim unusual sounds in the home keep them up at night, while sleep deprivation in men was caused by fear of identity theft and car theft. That's a look at some of today's top health stories. You're watching the KOAM Morning News.
That's fascinating.
Identity theft keeping you up.
Yeah, no, yeah, that was like that.
I see, the car theft would be happening, right outside your bedroom.
I'm hunched down like this because I was getting ready to do the day plan. No, that's fascinating how they broke it down by sex and what each was worried about.
Very true. Yeah, it's
That's really interesting. Home burglary and identity theft. I'll be darned. And I'm not doubting the research.
I mean, all in all, it's stress that's keeping people awake.
If anything, I'm like, okay, I'm not alone, I think is what I was getting at right there.
Yeah.
It's
weird that
it's like I get it.
Like men, according to this study, men, it's something that they're thinking about.
Right.
And women are hearing
over.
sounds in the house.
But losing sleep over it too.
Yeah.
50 and sunny, we got to get out. The clock's at 0. We'll be back right after this.
Miami, Oklahoma police take a man into custody following an armed standoff. We'll have the latest, plus a look at legislation aimed at improving duck boat safety and why some Southeast Kansas residents are facing problems with their unemployment checks.
The 4 states most watched news starts now.
Good morning and welcome to the KOAM Morning News. It's 6:30. I'm Tanya Bach. Coming up this half hour, why President Joe Biden is having trouble getting Republicans on board for another round of stimulus relief packages. And for our morning talker, we're asking, should trading app Robinhood be able to restrict individual investments? You can participate in our Insta poll at KOAMnewsnow.com/vote. But first, a check on your forecast.
You can blame me for the beginning of the show.
You made it flip.
No, because Tanya and I were talking right up until she had to talk with her microphone open. So that was completely my fault right there. I was bombarding her with comments.
Well, the reason why I paused when I probably was weird at home because it probably didn't happen at home, but my monitor went black. So for a second I wondered if I was even on.
Don't let him behind the curtain that much. I was taking the fall for you.
That's all right.
No, I was taking the fall. It was good. Skywatch Storm Tracker, Tanya, the wolf full moon, the hunger moon, the wolf moon. I'm trying to think what else. It's got about 3 or 4 names for it.
Is there like a winter?
It is gorgeous. It's beautiful because our clouds are breaking up on the Skywatch Storm Tracker. And so if you have the opportunity early this morning, step outside and take a shot of it. Of course, while it's officially full last night into this morning, it's still going to be gorgeous tonight. But we've got serious developments here as we head into the weekend. So take advantage of what's going to be a great Friday. There we go. Updated picture from the Freeman Health System sky camera in Joplin, where we sit at 33 degrees right now. Our wind is going to barrel in from the south, and it will do so at about 15 to 20 miles per hour. But that's also going to let us warm up quite a bit. We still do have wind chills, though, ranging from the low 20s to the mid 20s for the morning ride to school. But by the time they get out of school, the final bell rings, we're talking about sunny skies and temps all the way up in the 50s. Okay, those developments that we alluded to, here they come. Saturday morning, we have rain developing in Texas, and it is upon us as it tracks through Oklahoma, and everybody in the 4 states is going to get a taste of that rain, hanging on to the eastern edge of southwest Missouri all the way until Saturday evening. So what this does is, since it's one of the last days of the month, we actually will end up probably in the top 5 on record as far as most rain accumulation in 1 month. Specifically for Joplin Regional Airport. That's what I'm using as my measurement tool on that. I do want to point that out.
All right. Well, I mean, we know we're going to get the rain, so be prepared for
Right.
it. Make your plans.
This is not one of those, hey, spotty, scattered. No. It's going to rain Saturday.
And while it's going to be muddy, we don't have that fear of freezing at night, so that's promising.
No chance of it flipping over. No need to worry about that.
All right. Thanks, Michael. New this morning, Miami, Oklahoma police take a man into custody following a standoff. Just before 9 p.m. last night, Miami police responded to a report of shots fired in the 1100 block of I-Northwest. Police say a male suspect fired at another person following a physical altercation. The victim did not suffer a gunshot wound, however, had several wounds consistent with a fist fight. When Miami police arrived, the suspect barricaded himself inside with a family member. Officers at the house made numerous attempts to talk him out, but he refused to surrender. Police were able to get the family member out of the house. Officers then breached the home and took the suspect into custody without incident. Missouri Senators Roy Blunt and Josh Hawley say they've reintroduced legislation aimed at improving the safety of duck boats. They originally filed the legislation in response to the sinking of a Branson duck boat in 2018. Legislation would authorize previously outlined National Transportation Safety Board recommendations, including provisions to require the use of life jackets and equipping all operating duck boats to be more buoyant in the case of emergency flooding. A new company plans to bring duck boats back to Branson. The company, Branson Duck Boats LLC, says it will use boats proven to be unsinkable by the U.S. Coast Guard. Some Southeast Kansas residents say they've had a hard time getting their unemployment checks. And we've heard from several residents who say the Kansas Department of Labor has missed payments and they cannot get in contact with the department. Iola resident Vicki Geisler and her husband Jack are two of them. They've both been unemployed since March of last year. Vicki's regular and extended benefits ran out a little more than a month ago, so she's applied for a different extension and says she hasn't heard back yet. Her husband was supposed to get a check this week, but it's also held up.
On that last bit of money to help pay the utility bill, and guess what? No money because they stopped everybody's payments from going out this week due to fraud. So we're stuck in a hole right now.
That's a look at our top news stories coming up this half hour in the KOAM Morning News. How President Joe Biden is trying to help job seekers with executive orders and a stimulus package. Plus, for our morning talker, we're asking, should trading app Robinhood be able to restrict individual investments? We'll explain and let you weigh in. But first, it's 6:37.
Give you an idea how dry the Midwest is right now. You got to go all the way to the Rockies to find any precip to the west. Got to go all the way almost to New England to find any precip to the east. Absolutely delightful for a late January Friday. Highs in the mid-50s. But remember, it's going to be a wet Saturday as the rain moves in. We'll be back with Nation Watch next.
Topping Nation Watch this morning, about 1.3 million Americans submitted first-time jobless claims last week. About 847,000 are seeking unemployment benefits. The rest are gig workers filing under the Pandemic Unemployment Assistance Program. President Joe Biden is trying to help job seekers with executive orders and a stimulus package. Phil Mattingly reports. The White House is having trouble getting Republicans on board.
And the first thing I got to do is get this COVID package passed.
But President Joe Biden's goal of a bipartisan coronavirus relief package may be slipping away.
We're not going to do this in a piecemeal way or break apart a big package.
The White House and their allies on Capitol Hill ready to press forward.
Republicans can still vote for a package, even if it goes through with reconciliation. There's no blood oath anybody signs. They're able to support it regardless.
And top White House officials, including the president himself, continue to have discussions with Republicans in search of a path forward.
He wants this to be a bipartisan package. He's listening to Democrats and Republicans, we all are, to ensure that that's what it looks like at the end of the day.
But Biden has also made clear splitting key elements out to reach a deal is not on the table.
Time is of the essence. And I must tell you, I'm reluctant to cherry pick and take out one or two items here and then have to go through it again because these all are kind of they go sort of hand in glove.
And Democrats on Capitol Hill are increasingly convinced a deal with any Republicans on Biden's $1.9 trillion proposal is simply not possible, sources say.
The smartest thing we can do is act big.
And they are ready to push ahead on a partisan basis.
We would hope that we would have bipartisan cooperation, but we're not taking any tools off the table, should they not.
All as the depth of the economic destruction wrought by COVID comes to light. The U.S. economy contracted 3.5% in 2020, the first annual decline since the 2008 financial crisis, and the worst drop since 1946.
In the middle of this COVID crisis.
The damage from the pandemic also driving Biden's newest executive action on Obamacare. The man who made BFD famous now reopening enrollment for the law that's deal was so big as he presses to undo his predecessor's efforts to kill the law.
Basically, the best way to describe them, to undo the damage Trump has done.
That's a look at today's top national story. Let's check back in with Michael for our Something to Talk About.
KOAM News Now Facebook page. Our question is about, should Robinhood be restricted? Guy Hansen says legalize gambling, funny money, high risk, which is why I stand with Donald Trump on investing in real estate over the stock market. I'm very amused and pleased to see the whole thing blow up. Guy says, enjoy. Michelle Pacini, club member, says, awesome weekend in store for us. If the stock market was as predictable as people, I would be a millionaire. Rocky Cunningham says, of course, duh. It's no different than a retail store choosing not to sell a certain brand. He quotes, my pillow. That comes to mind, Rocky says. Don't like it? Take your business elsewhere. And William Beeching says, Michael, how come KOAM isn't recognizing 2/2/21 as Groundhog Day? Or, he asks, has dictator Biden taken that away from us? All right, William. Here. I'm gonna let no, we can. I mean, you can pop me back on cam. I'm gonna let it behind the scenes right now. I'm gonna show you how we roll this. For those of you that don't know, I have gotten in repeated trouble for my thoughts about Groundhog Day and scream about rodentia. I have put Doug through a lot back in my news days, screaming about rodents and them deciding the weather. But William, it's for you, dude. That's for you. Birthdays and anniversaries are next.
We are so sorry here. Gene Johnston served in the United States Navy from 1943 to 1945. He served in the Philippines in the U.S. Navy Seabees unit. His hometown, Yates Center, Kansas. We are proud to salute Gene Johnston, our four-state hero. And the reason why we want to celebrate him as our four-state hero today is because it is also his 99th birthday, which is so awesome. And we want everyone to participate in his birthday as safely as possible. They're actually holding a drive-by parade today. The address in Yates Center to drive by is 942 Mink Road. That's 942 Mink Road at noon. You can join in on the parade, honk, wave, and yell, "Happy birthday, Gene." Please do that.
That's too cool. Happy birthday, Mr. Number one, I would, it's, we always appreciate the backbone of our country and your service, Mr. Johnston, and also to kind of go on top of that, a very happy birthday to you, sir. Thank you for all that you've done. That's tremendous. Now, we're going to go to Matty Jo Westerholt because we have a big 3-year-old on our hands. Congratulations to Miss Matty Jo. What a wonderful picture right there. She is in Sheldon.
That is an awesome picture. They're just posing alongside her. I like it. All right, Isaiah Roberson is 5 years old this year. Great picture of Isaiah in Quapaw, Oklahoma.
All right, Carson, listen up, my man. Mom, Timber, and Aunt Rachel are all wishing you a very happy birthday because
How about that
Carson
picture?
is amazing, an amazing number 6. Happy birthday, big kid and humble.
All right. Gunnar Burton is also turning 6 years old. Looks like he's been out doing some fishing there. Gunnar is
Nice.
in Columbus.
Oh, Gunnar, I long for those warmer days when we can get back out there, man. He's all bundled up.
Yeah.
He'd probably fish no matter what time of day. I'm not as tough as him, quite frankly, is what it is. Lathan Siebel, turning number 11. Happy birthday, Lathan.
All right. And we've got a 6th grader in Pittsburgh
Hey,
here. Birthday
Brooklyn.
wishes coming from Grandpa Tom and Grandma Dee to Brooklyn Loftmiller, who's now 12 years old. Great picture there of Brooklyn in Pittsburgh.
Good night, Irene, kiddo. That makes me realize how fast the years are going. Alexia Ludwig, she is now a teenager, 13 years old. Now, if she's 13, that probably means Malia is 13 as well. So, to the Ludwig twins,
Oh, man.
I had to know. I was reading this.
I understand they got a nickname.
No, I love this. The Quarantines. That comes from Nanny and Papa, Malia and Alexia. Don't you get mad at me for that. The Quarantines.
At least they're not calling them the Corn Twins.
That's good. That is too good.
Welcome to the teenage years, Ludwig twins. All right, Jake Harris celebrating birthday number 15 this year. Everyone's got these sharp pictures turned in today. Love it. Jake is in Jasper, Missouri.
Run out to Oswego, where Kyler Dreiling is turning 23. And Kyler, I want to know where you got that shirt, man.
I was going to say, you
I
need
want
one
to
of
know
those,
where
Michael.
you got that shirt. That is great.
Oh, that is funny. He's prepped to say one there. And let's see, moving on. We've got Jacob Jennings celebrating birthday number 31 this year. Jacob is in Jasper, Missouri.
Ira Harnia turning 39. Ira wants you to have a marvelous day.
Hey, Ira, happy birthday. And let's see, we've got Nicholas Yabba turning 48 years old in Joplin. I have a special note that says he loves trains, and that makes sense where he's taking his picture.
Hey, Nick, I haven't seen you in a while, man, just because with what's going on pandemic-wise. Happy birthday, my man. Have a great birthday. That's awesome. John Bolander, a birthday out in Parsons, steering the ship. Somebody's got to keep the ship afloat.
Yeah,
John's got it.
Captain John there.
That's what you do.
All right, coming up this weekend, Brenda Parsons in McCune will be celebrating a birthday. I hope you have a great one, Brenda.
And get this, who that is? Not you, friends. Hunter. It's Hunter's birthday. That is our own Hunter McKee. Great asset to our news department. Wonderful photographer. Happy birthday, my man. I will see you later on this afternoon. Eric Carter, a happy birthday in Columbus. Jolynn Haggerty, celebrating in the NAC. Ron and Carol Madron with their 60th anniversary. Congratulations to the Madrons in Coffeyville. And Randy and Patty Robinson. They're celebrating their 48th anniversary. Randy and Patty are in Columbus. A happy birthday and happy anniversary to all on this January 29th. Now, here's Tanya Bach with a very important birthday announcement.
That's right. I'm here to talk about the KOAM Birthday Club, and you can be a part of it too. All you have to do is go to our website and sign up. And hey, once you do, you'll get special deals from local businesses. Go to KOAMnewsnow.com and sign up for the KOAM Birthday Club today. Here's a check of today's top headlines, the news you need to know before you head out the door. Miami, Oklahoma police take a man into custody following a standoff. Just before 9 p.m. last night, Miami police responded to a report of shots fired in the 1100 block of I-Northwest. Police say a male suspect fired at another person following a physical altercation. The victim did not suffer a gunshot wound, however, had several wounds consistent with a fist fight. When Miami police arrived, the suspect barricaded himself inside with a family member. Officers at the house made numerous attempts to talk him out, but he refused to surrender. Police were able to get the family member out of the house. Officers then breached the home and took the suspect into custody without incident. Missouri Senators Roy Blunt and Josh Hawley say they've reintroduced legislation aimed at improving the safety of duck boats. They originally filed the legislation in response to the sinking of a Branson duck boat in 2018. The legislation would authorize previously outlined National Transportation Safety Board recommendations, including provisions to require the use of life jackets and equipping all operating duck boats to be more buoyant in the case of emergency flooding. A new company plans to bring duck boats back to Branson. The company, Branson Duck Boats LLC, says it'll use boats proven to be unsinkable by the U.S. Coast Guard. And some Southeast Kansas residents say they've had a hard time getting their unemployment checks. We've heard from several residents who say the Kansas Department of Labor has missed payments and they can't get in contact with the department. Iola resident Vicki Geisler and her husband Jack are two of them. They've both been unemployed since March of last year. Vicki's regular and extended benefits ran out a little more than a month ago, so she's applied for a different extension and says she hasn't heard back. Her husband was supposed to get a check this week, but it's held up. That's a check of today's top headlines, the news you need to know before you head out the door.
Skies clearing out, sunshine all the way up again to the 50s here. A little bit later on. Let me go ahead and update this so that way I can get William Beeching's Groundhog Day logo on there. There we go. Now remember, that rain kicks in Saturday. It's going to be a wet weekend. It's going to be a little bit of a muddy mess, even though we dry off on Sunday. Tanya's been pointing out though all morning, no chance of it flipping over to snow. So we'll take that as a positive.
Yeah.
I want to thank you all for joining us on this Friday. I want you to have a great day, a wonderful weekend. We'll do this all again on Monday morning.